So my big criticism last week was that I uncovered something that had never been seen or shown before, which indeed was that the French Navy, we've given the French 61 million quid to stop illegal migrants coming to Britain, and actually they were escorting these illegal migrant boats out of French waters and handing them over directly to the British border force. And at the end of last week, we heard on the VHF the French saying, we will have to do this differently. Well, sure enough, this morning, we came across on the horizon a French boat escorting a dinghy out of French waters. Change of tactics. The French Navy boat was further away from the rib than it had been last time. And when they saw us come into view, they kind of turned broadside on and zigzagged a bit and pretended it was nothing to do with them. We then were the first British boat to come up against that little dinghy. They weren't pleased to see us. They were really quite aggressive, some of the young men in that boat, because it wasn't us they wanted to see. It was Border Force, because they know once Border Force get them, they can stay in the UK. But the big change was that on these ships, they have something called AIS. It's a transponder. So you can actually see and map the route that these vessels take. And the big change from the French, from last week to this week, is they're now, when they're doing these escorts, turning the transponders off. So there's no historical record of where they've been. And unless you've got great visibility, you can't actually see them doing it. So in many ways, this is getting worse and not better. I think there were 6 boats that in total came into Dover today, including a kayak. Someone on his own kayaked across the channel. I've asked the Home Office for official figures. As ever, they haven't got any. And all of this on a day when we understand that Immigration Minister Chris Philp is talking to the former head of Australian Border Force, because they faced a very similar problem, albeit the boats were coming from Indonesia. They were coming further, there were more people on board, there were bigger vessels, but they had much the same problem, and the Australians dealt with it. So we are now having a conversation with the Australians. I'm friendly with Tony Abbott, who was the Australian Prime Minister at the time, and we will do a big feature on this one Sunday morning when we've got the time. All I can say is, a week on from the expose I did, things in the channel are worse now than they were because it's being done in a manner of absolute deceit. Every attempt made to conceal the truth for us, and it simply isn't good enough.